feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's sink or swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Want to put it all together, this big thanks. Doing big things. We ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone that died, putting me in charge. I'm a general from the front, I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap, never. Going hard as ever.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode here on the Shrimp Tank, powered by Celsius Beverage. This is where street smarts and book smarts collide. We partner with the Florida Atlantic University, their Adams Center for Entrepreneurship, find the do's and don'ts of running a business, of course. Catch over 350 episodes up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com, and we are the only podcast in the world that I am aware of that has an entire class of Florida Atlantic University students sitting in and asking questions live during the show. Thankful that my co-host Kevin Cox somehow allowed this to take place. So Kevin, what is up? There's some big things planned for the university in the coming months, and usually share that at the end, but I think today we want to share it in the beginning because we're wrapping up the season.
Yeah. So the exciting news from just released today is the Princeton Review just announced the top schools for entrepreneurship studies in 2026. So this is a ranking list of entrepreneurship at various universities from across the United States and around the world. And our undergraduate entrepreneurship program has been named number 19, the highest that it's ever been ranked. So it's the number 19th ranked program, number 3 ranked program in all of the South. And then our graduate program was ranked number 40. So both top 50 programs. And like I said, the highest we've ever been listed on there. But that's because we keep growing, we keep improving, more startups, more students, more internships, more high growth companies. It's a great time to be in entrepreneurship at Florida Atlantic University.
Kudos to you, Kevin. You've done a lot for the university, and I could just see this vision happening with Florida FAU Tech Runway, with what's about to happen, what you shared with me, of course, all these startups happening, and of course what's happening in New York right now, right? So I think there's going to be a nice advantage to all of us. You know, I'm happy I partnered with you 6 years ago before we knew any of this was going to take place.
Yeah, that means more of you are going to be down here probably, unfortunately, but that's all right. Everybody's welcome.
Well, Jesse has a background to New York as well. So Jesse, why don't we start things off by giving the students your elevator pitch, right? So often people come in studio and they share their story and it's 10 minutes long, but we want the students to really understand what it means to give an elevator pitch. When you meet someone quickly, you got 60 seconds and they really have to understand who you are and what you do. So go for it.
Very cool. Well, I'm an athlete. You know, I had the fortune to play at the University of Buffalo, win a championship. And what I'd like to say is I've won at every single level I've been a part of. And when I got a part of my father's business, I looked at it in a different way. I looked at it as an entrepreneur and said, what can I do? What kind of vertical pitches can I bring to this business? And it's been really successful, you know, growing it from $1 million to 80 million in a 10-year period has been incredible. Obviously, you know, there's a lot of hard work in there, but what I would like to say is that, you know, the beauty's in the hard work, and that's all I can really recommend to you guys.
$1 million to $80 million in 10 years. Isn't that crazy, Kevin?
Yeah, that's wild. So that is a huge business today. Tell us a little bit more about RAC and everything you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I was fortunate enough to come to school here for 2 years. I got to be a graduate assistant on the Florida Atlantic football team. Again, you know, I attended University of Buffalo, which again kind of helped bring me down here because I wanted to coach football. So when I got down here, things didn't work out in the football world, and I saw an opportunity with my dad. When I evaluated the business, I made it very clear to him that I wasn't here to be an electrician. I was here to build a brand and create an empire. Those are things that I've been able to accomplish in that short amount of time. But it's really been about, you know, surrounding myself with the right people, surrounding myself with the right operations, and then just continually giving back to the community. And that's, you know, that's why I'm here today.
So were you in one of our academic programs at the same time as a graduate assistant?
Yeah,
or just
I was
working with the team. What program was it?
I was in higher education, and I didn't finish, unfortunately, because I ended up leaving for a family emergency. That's part of the reason why I went to work for my dad. He had gotten sick for a little bit. Looking back at it, with the business the way it is, it probably was a little bit of stress maybe. But I felt it was the decision to put family first, and that's why I left football, and I kind of took what I learned on the playbook and I brought it into the trades.
Nice. Yeah. It's a great story.
Okay, we're going to get into more detail a little later about your background as an entrepreneur, your journey, and also the business. But for now, this is the Shrimp Tank. And each and every week, we have students come up and we run a game show. So today we're going to have the instructor of the course actually run the show because we have something really in store for the finale next week. And Tess is going to share a lot about that because, we're new to this whole student thing as well. And we got a lot of things planned in the next couple of years.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and just these next couple of weeks. So this week and next week, the Shrimp Tank's being somewhat taken over by this entrepreneurship course to serve as part of our final presentation and also part of our, final lecture on pitching. So it works out nicely that we always start the podcast with sort of a personal pitch from the guests. But I have a handful of questions here really for all three of you. Just geared towards gaining some insights on how to pitch, what are some of the green flags and red flags. And then those will actually be part of our final exam, everybody. So this is truly part of the course now.
Awesome.
I wanted to start with Jesse. We got sort of your 60-second personal pitch on your journey. I'm wondering if we can hear something a little more technical. You talked about expanding into new verticals. What would a 60-second pitch from you to like a contractor look like when you're considering expanding into a new part of the industry or working with a new set of clients?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, number one, I think it really starts with who you surround yourself with, right? So most contractors, they want to keep everything to the chest, and they want to control every single piece of it. And what I would say is if you put the right people around you and you give them their tasks, their responsibilities, you'll start to see them grow and you'll start to see your business grow. I knew nothing about air conditioning a year ago. Well, a year ago, I bought a business in Orlando, and now I know a lot about air conditioning, right? And we took a $100,000 business and grew it into $1.5 million business. So I would say you have to have confidence in yourself. You talk about an elevator pitch to somebody. A big quote I always use is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So if you're going to stand there and be timid and not go take that opportunity, what's the worst thing that can happen? They say no, then you go to the next person, So if that kind of answers the question.
Yeah, it does. And then I would have a follow-up, which are a little bit more of the technical side. What are the key points that you really want to hammer home that your business can provide when you're talking to potential new partners?
Well, one of the things is we use a really strong CRM, which means the entire business is on one page, right? One company, one CRM. Allows us the ability to kind of move a little bit faster. We think technology is a big advantage that RAC has. And ultimately, one of the things we really focus on is the customer experience, right? Bringing quality work into somebody's home or into a commercial property while also giving them fair pricing.
Awesome.
You want to share what you guys are using? Are you using Salesforce?
We are currently using Service Titan, which is probably the most powerful of CRMs that are out there right now. A lot of companies use it. But from what I've heard directly working with Service Titan, most people don't use it enough. We use it at an 80 or 90% capacity, including inventory, everything from the beginning, from the lead generation all the way through the sale, through the project management, through the project analysis, inventory, truck tracking. I mean, if you really buy into the program, just like anything, you can have a zillion different things. But if you don't invest into it, you're not going to see those returns. And we've really invested.
Yeah, some of that software could be expensive. Sometimes I see founders, they'll opt in and think that the software is going to work like magic, and you have to integrate it, you have to use it, you have to leverage it, or it's kind of just waste of money.
100%. So I looked at it in a holistic way, and I said, all right, well, I'm not a techie. I'm the idea guy. I wanted to find the best operations person that I could find that understood the trades. So what I did was I evaluated a few people and I ended up hiring somebody. And before we launched the software, we had it for a year. We didn't launch it. We had it. We worked out every single kink.
Smart.
Because, you go launch it with 100 technicians. Well, it's 100 chaos and a lot of headaches, So it's been really beneficial.
Smart.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And then for all three of you, I know you've all heard hundreds or maybe even thousands of pitches. Maybe Jesse, it's for, potential acquisition. Kevin and Jason, lots of pitches as part of competitions and that kind of thing. What would be the 2 to 3 signals that instantly tell you, this venture is ready and these entrepreneurs are on top of it?
Go, Kevin. I'll let you kick this off. You got a lot of interested.
Yeah, I've heard infinite pitches, right? So I think the biggest thing is that you validated the different components of the business model. And that might sound a little bit technical, like, what is he talking about, validated components of the business model? like you made sure this thing's actually going to work as a business. It's not a hobby. It's not an idea. It's not an invention. It's not an innovation. It's an actual business. And the components of that business fit together. And again, they've been validated. Now, how can you show validation? If you're a student and you're just getting started, you may not be able to get all the way to product market fit where you're selling a product to customers, right? That's a long way to go. But you've got to establish some sort of evidence that people want or are going to want what you're building, right? And maybe that's signing up for your mailing list, going to your landing page. Maybe it is making a purchase, or maybe it is users on a platform. But whatever it is, you need buy-in from the customers. You need signals towards that product market fit. Because I'll tell you, I've had businesses and technologies that I don't understand. I can't wrap my head around it.
Kevin, we've had people on the shrimp tank and they've left and we haven't understood.
Yeah.
Come on. We were like, what? Did you get it? I thought the whole time you understood and I was just going over my head, but then we walked out not realizing what was going on.
Yeah. And if any students want to guess who we're talking about, let's do that after the show because you were in here. With that in mind, though, I've heard things that I didn't fully understand the underlying technology, but they had enough demand from customers, enough evidence of product market fit where I don't even care. So you can really have a great pitch as long as you can prove that the customers want your product. I may not want your product. I may think your product is silly. We did a game show a few weeks ago where it was real or fake. Some of those real businesses seem like nonsense, but their customers probably love them. And that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
And remember, Rent a Granny is still available, right? That was a fake company. I thought that one was real, of course.
She's going to be at your house on Friday.
It's not a bad idea.
For sure. Everyone needs a granny every now and then. On my end, I'm a financial advisor. I run this podcast show and others in my local studio. And then the Owl app, which brings a lot of solo entrepreneurs into it. So I don't see it as much as Kevin, where like I'm at competitions. I've been a judge before. But what I always tend to say is the data never lies and numbers never lie, right? So people come in and tell me their ideas, but I'm like, how many clients you have? And they're like, 0. So they go on and talk and talk and talk. But a lot of times they have a 9 to 5 and it's just an idea, right? The people who are completely serious and passionate about it, it's more than an idea. Like they have a website, their email doesn't say at Gmail, right? So the first thing I'm like, do you spend the $5 extra to make it at your company? And so often people don't. Do you have an Instagram handle? Do you have a LinkedIn account? And it says company on it. Are you putting that company on your LinkedIn account? Right. So you're telling me that you are so passionate about this, but your ego's in the way. You're not even ready to put it on your LinkedIn profile. So I always look at the data. Like, did you really take the time to put hours and hours into your business like Jesse has, like I have, right? And then really start, to gain momentum and clients and revenues. Because often people just talk about ideas and what it could be. And I usually say that's the red flag. When everyone says, I'm like, how long have you had this idea? And it's like 7 years, 10 years, 20 years. You know how many people told me they were going to build Owl? I mean, every single week, like, oh, I had that idea. I was going to do that. I was like, you were more than welcome to do that, but you didn't, have the huevos to do it. Right. So that's my point of view, is just look at the real data.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, mergers and acquisitions has been my kind of, investing into different entrepreneurship type deals. Yeah. Number one, with any type of merger and acquisition, it's intellect over emotion. Don't make it an emotional decision. Because, you could sit there and start pounding your chest and I want to buy all these companies and, different vertical for me could be a different city, and most of the companies that I've purchased were diamonds in the rough. As I like to say, I look at them in a different lens and I can see the value in them. A lot of businesses in the trade world, their financials are not good. Little Wayne said it best, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. And, as you're looking through and you're judging everything, you're looking at it, it's not really making sense. Trust your gut. But ultimately for me, it's not so much a people decision. It's got to be something that it's a good vertical that fits in with RAC, because at the end of the day, we have a really strong culture. And, I know that, again, you fall in love with the data, that the employees at this other location may not come and fit in with your team. You've got to evaluate all that stuff. So really falling in love with the data. And then honestly, it just comes down to, metrics and then trusting your gut at the end.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys.
Do we have a 50 Cent quote to go with it? I know that's your favorite part. He's got a lot of money quotes too.
No,
Right.
50 cent more is like get rich or die trying.
There we go. That's where I was going.
You know, I would say that's my life minus all the chaos.
Let the haters
Awesome.
hate or something. One of those. I don't even know which artist that was.
Thank you guys. I kind of want to follow this up. So Kevin sort of mentioned like we're in our course, we go through the process of putting together a business model for a, fake venture that obviously these guys are all still in school and don't have the time to actually, drop out and get the thing started. So if a venture team has zero traction and really is starting from ground zero and it kind of is just an idea, what would be the kind of proof points that you want to see?
Want to take it?
Yeah, customer feedback.
Yeah.
Right. Direct customer feedback. There is no replacement for it. You got to get it in front of your customers. I've got students out on the breezeway last week providing a golf experience, and they've had 164 of their FAU classmates participate in their program. I'll call it loosely. It's kind of like a circus game of sorts, but people love it. I don't know why. It's not a good deal for the students who participate. They it usually costs them some money, and that's how that team makes some money, right? And next week we're gonna have the Revive Fashion Bazaar on the 18th. That'll also be on the breezeway. Another group of students like set up, get in front of customers, and get that feedback by any means possible, and feedback from your customers, right? So a lot of times people listen to the word feedback and they're like, okay, great. I don't mean your brother, your friend, your mom. Like, who's the customer, right? And whoever the customer profile is, that's who you need to get in front of. A lot of people come in my office, right? And they say, hey, Dr. Cox got this idea. What about this? Well, if it's not designed for, some middle-aged college professor who teaches entrepreneurship, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm kind of an expert at this process, but not on your product or your service. So who's the customer? It doesn't matter if the customer's senior citizens. Go to the Lifelong Learning Center when they're leaving one of those educational seminars, right? Is it children? Is it high schoolers? Is it college students? A lot of college students make things for other college students. That's the easiest. But you can't ask college students about your product if your product is designed for another demographic, right? Let's say you designed a box that you're going to ship to relatively young moms. Okay, well, then that's who you got to talk to. That's who you got to get buy-in from and feedback from.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I just have a couple more questions. One more kind of for everyone. We've touched on it already a little bit, but the tone of a pitch. We've had a lot of entrepreneurs on here talk a lot about the importance of passion and making sure you can engage with the people in the room and make, the problem matter for everybody in the room. But also you have to balance that with the data and the numbers and competence. What are you sort of looking for in terms of tone?
I mean, in general, you're always pitching yourself. Everyone talks about pitching like just when you're in front of an audience and judges, but that's not the case, right? When you're at the bar and the event's over, you're talking to the person, and that tone really matters. What I'm actually the best at is that, right? After events, I get actually pretty nervous up on this podcast quite often. And then sometimes I'm just in the wrong zone. I didn't have a coffee that morning, or I drink a Celsius and I'm just like super hyper, right? Like anything could throw you off. I'm married, I have 2 kids. Like you just never know where like one second you're good and the next second you're in your own head and you're putting out fires all the time as an entrepreneur. But I think you're always pitching yourself. And I think people get that wrong often. They think, oh, you're only got to be ready in that one moment. But tone is everything. The tone on your Zoom meetings, the tone to your employees, the tone, and employees is a very big part. I know Jesse's going to add to this, is like when they walk in the door, are you in a bad mood? Because then you're going to put them in a bad mood. Or, our producer Stephanie gets annoyed with me. I'm always like, hey, Stephanie, good morning. And then she's like, oh, again, he's like the energetic bunny over here that doesn't ever, stop, of course. But that is super important, your tone and your character and always being there for others, right? I think a lot of our past guests of the Shrimp Tank know me as that individual, the person that they could lean on for a connection, right? If they need a hookup, let's say they need an AC, I could be like, hey, reach out to Jesse, who's just on the Shrimp Tank. They know that my word is very valuable and they're not looking always at the follower count. And to piggyback what Kevin was talking about a moment ago, if you're a student out there looking to grow a business, I think everyone tries to raise capital too early, tries to do too much too quickly. And I just think it is the best time in the world if you're a student. You have so much time in your day. When you think you don't have time, you have more time than you recognize.
There's so much
when
time.
you have kids and a family and you're married, it's like you never have time. And you put that stuff first. But right now you have the chance, like that brand that came on a few weeks ago, WAP, where you can start a website for free. You can start an Instagram account for free, an email address for free. And you can just start a business and see if it gets traction.
Yeah.
And if it gets traction, just tell your customers, hey, we're really backed up right now. We're 3 months backed out. It could be a tree service. It could be a lawn service. It doesn't matter. The traction supports it. You've got clients to sign up. And what better time can you do this all for free, right? Back in the day, you had to do what Jesse was doing and like buy trucks, brick and mortar location, get employees. It's like, it's so hard today.
Yeah.
So I will say is just go in now and don't overthink it.
Yeah, I had a student last year in the spring started a holiday lighting company.
Great
And
idea.
this year I've seen his company signs all over, right?
Mhm.
Like that business must be growing and successful. And he made a lot of money last spring. Like he just, had the wherewithal to jump in and do it. Jesse?
I mean, look, opportunity is going to present itself if you work hard for it, right? I know that sounds very cliche, but you're right. The time, you have to make time. You can't, if you're a student, you have a great idea, you got to make time to do both. If you have your job, it doesn't matter. Things do change when you have kids, but even with them, you just have to continually make time and make sacrifices if you believe that much in that product. And if, look, we're all human. If you don't have butterflies in your stomach when you're pitching somebody, then you need to go slap yourself, because that's if you don't feel that passionate about it, and then just get it out. And it may come out, it may sound ridiculous, but you know what? Somebody will feel that passion and be like, you know what? I understand you're nervous. Take a deep breath. What were you trying to say? Oh, you have this new product? That's incredible. Because it comes out in your passion. I mean, every time I played football, if I wasn't nervous for the game, it's like I didn't love it enough. So if you don't feel nervous to pitch it to somebody that you believe in a product, then you're not ready to pitch that product yet,
Yeah, and then I just add that as a kind of part of the human condition, right? Like people love stories. They don't necessarily like presentations and talking points. So
Yeah.
if you can, stitch it into some sort of story, an example, and I do a lot of this when I teach, and people remember it, right? But you also have to hit all those important data points and share, the components of the business and those details as well. But if you can stitch it into a story, that'll go a long way. And then Jason already hit on kind of the personality of the founders. We have Andrea from EpiPause, who actually made the deal live with Mr. Wonderful in the Shark Tank event last year. I always get her in front of people because her passion, her knowledge, her expertise, it comes straight through. And I've heard people say, like, well, I don't really understand the pet business, but boy, I sure like that founder.
Yeah.
Like maybe I will
Sure.
invest, and that comes through. So it's important.
Yeah. I really appreciate that feedback and the emphasis on a major part of your pitch is your longer term reputation, that there is no, like you said, there's no getting out there and being really impressive for 60 seconds and then going home, that it is part of this longer process. I have one more question. I know we're a little bit over the usual
Keep
yeah,
going. This is
segment,
awesome.
but this is
We're just like
helpful.
the interview.
Yeah.
It's going great.
well, you might not like this one. I wanted to turn the tables on Kevin and Jason and have each of you do a 60-second pitch, either on a venture that you're working on or some project, as part of the organizations you're part of, and then basically critique each other.
Okay, well that's
Oh, wow.
harder than
He's
I
a-
thought. Well, speaking of stories,
Yeah, what are you doing,
I'll
Kevin?
tell
What are
you.
you up to? What are you up to?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little story about one of the founders I'm working with, and I think it makes for a pretty good pitch, right? So, Daniel Guido started Fire Codes AI. It's a really kind of a niche thing, and his customers are fire code engineers, right? Specific
cool.
as that. If you're a fire code engineer, you got to get all these code books, right? And there's state level, there's federal level, there's county level, there's city level. Like, it's super annoying, right? And you got to find the right code to do the engineering. And he was thinking, couldn't they use AI for that? Like a general model, like a chat GPT? No, and this is the technical part that I can't understand, so I'm not going to bother with it, but it doesn't chunk the data correctly. So what he did is he took all the code books and built his own model. And now a fire code engineer, instead of finding the book for the specific county and the specific ordinance, they can just type it into their phones on Fire Codes AI. And unlike general models that'll be like, yeah, I think that's right, go with it. Hopefully there's no fires. His app will pull out the exact citation and say, boom, here's your answer.
Here's your code.
Right. So I think it's a really compelling story. And so do some other people. So he won our business pitch competition. This is the other point I wanted to bring up is these pitch competitions represent a real opportunity for you as students to win real money and fund your venture. That's always one of the challenges for students, right? So Daniel won our internal competition last year. It's fantastic. But we send him to the state competition called the Governor's Cup. And guess what? Fire Codes AI wins first place there. So then we send him to the Florida Venture Forum statewide collegiate competition. And after winning the Governor's Cup and $5,000, he wins that and another $10,000 to fund his venture. And now he's hitting the competitions he missed last year because he wasn't really tied into the entrepreneurship ecosystem here at Florida Atlantic. Now we've got him going. He was at USF last week, or he's going there this week. I can't keep track. He has just been named one of the top 50 nationally in the Baylor competition. He'll also be applying to TCU's Ventures and Values. So really kind of the sky's the limit. And then the other part that's the most important part to his pitch, as soon as this app was available, he had fire code engineers. He went straight to LinkedIn and said, I have this. You want to use it? And they did. Dozens of them did. And then not only that, some of them converted to paid accounts, and some of them converted to enterprise paid accounts. So not easy to do on the fly, but I think I did pretty good, Jason. I don't know.
You did well, but you made the cardinal mistake, Kevin. You took too long for your pitch. And what happens is if you're in a real pitch competition, they'd be like, sorry, you went over, and they'd cut you off at like 2-3 minutes, right, Jesse?
Yeah,
you did great.
It was a great pitch. I mean, great product. Definitely needed. Fire alarm, fire codes. They're everywhere you go, and it's super important for safety. Kid made a great idea. I mean, wish I had more ideas like that when I was in college. That's for sure.
And then the only thing I will say is, like, did you end up getting a board seat, the like equity? Like, these are opportunities for you.
I'm just
you allowed to do that?
No, I'm
That's
just
where
advisor and helper and supporter.
Okay.
And
gotta ask.
Yeah. And I'll add, for students who are encouraged to participate in these national and statewide things, we'll fund them. If you end up a finalist in one of these competitions, we will fund you to get there and take that trip and make that pitch. So it's a real opportunity for you. And we have the resources here at Florida Atlantic to do that for pretty obvious reasons. I like you to go out and win so then it can drive those rankings that I talked about at the beginning of the show, right?
Okay, here's my pitch. Ready? Every single student, take your iPhone out right now and hit the record button. We're going to give them 30 seconds. We've never done this. Tess, you put me on the spot. Okay. The Shrimp Tank is the first podcast in the world that has 30 to 40 students that sit in live during each and every episode with the best and brightest entrepreneurs in and around South Florida. And what we are looking for right now for the first time ever is a sponsor. That sponsor will get the opportunity to put their name across every chair that all these students sit in. Additionally, get the opportunity to interact with students on certain episodes, come in and talk about internship opportunities, career opportunities, and of course, get access to some of the most amazing guests that we interview. So if you're out there looking to partner with the Shrimp Tank, with Florida Atlantic University, give Kevin Cox an email or myself, and we'll happily consider you as our next sponsor as we kick off season 3 on the Shrimp Tank on January 14th, 2026. How's my pitch?
That was a solid pitch.
Good.
Oh, I left something important out. Whoever gets, if the students were actually recording, which none of them took out their phone, I left out the most important thing. You will get a $1,000 cash bonus if you find that sponsor for us.
Okay.
Ooh, put some money on the line.
Well, how good was it, Jesse? Is Rack going to be the sponsor?
Potentially. I mean, you know what? I mean, we put our logo up on the scoreboard in the football arena, and we're partaking in all the athletics here. There's potential. We can definitely discuss that after the fact.
Nice.
I want Rack to be a lot more involved with Florida Atlantic. I think there's
Awesome.
a lot of opportunity
There is.
for us as we're growing in this ever changing energy cycle that we're dealing with. I firmly believe that we are in an energy revolution right now, and that Rack is at the forefront of it because there will be an energy crisis in the future.
Okay, Jesse, you have to say who won the pitch. Was it Kevin? Was it me? Tess said there has to be one winner. You can't choose both of us.
I'm probably going to use.
Oh, it's not about the company. It's about the pitch sometimes, Kevin.
He only lost because he went on. He started giving a backstory of the whole story.
Detail.
Yeah, it was a lot of detail.
It's a good story.
It was a good story. Look, the devil's in the details, and as you talk more and more, I mean, the product got better as people start to want to be involved. I mean, I deal with it every single day with trying to make sure that we have the best practices, and it's something that's very much lost in the trades. So when you hear about that, fire alarm, fire zoning, everything like that, the codes, it's so important to stay ahead of that. Most companies don't have the capacity to understand it, which is why we continue to excel.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about Rack. You want to break down the business for us as it stands today? You mentioned 80 million annual revenue. How does that break down in terms of the different products, services, ballpark? We don't need to get into the nitty gritty.
Let me give you a little backstory. So, when I started with my dad, he was majorly in new construction. And what maybe you guys don't know what new construction is, building buildings. We built banks. We did all the electrical in the banks. And when I got on there, I kind of evaluated the business and said, okay, well, how do we make this business recession proof, right? The R word. And, for me, recessions are tough, but there's a lot of opportunities that present themselves. And, so what I did was I said, look, we got to get into service, right? Service is a lot more profitable, a lot more relationships, less single point failures, right? So, shortly what I did was I massaged his relationships that he had, and I took his strong foundation, his reputation, and I just started to continually grow. I would add a truck here, I'd add a truck there, and add a technician here. Quite frankly, I feel that I just outworked everybody, and I out-networked everybody. Because you know what? If you're gonna, like you said, if you're gonna believe in your product, you got to put all the chips on the table, and I did. And then we began to get focused on, okay, what are these companies doing that have residual or preventative maintenance agreements differently than what Rack is doing? So I started to get into the generator business. So generator business, first year, sold 6. I thought I was the man. And then Hurricane Irma hit, and and sold 116. And as it kind of evolved, we just continually increased from 100 to 200, 330.
Is that a very profitable business? You said you felt like the man at 6.
Well,
so what did that mean?
It's a very unique, it's a very niche business, right?
Okay.
So what I would say to you now is most people can refer in the trades to electrical, plumbing, HVAC, or air condition. And generators kind of is tied in and stuck in between all of them. And what I would say now is that generators is standing by itself. What you're seeing is a lot of private equity and venture capital come in because they feel, which I felt, and I've always pitched this, that there will be an energy crisis with a lot of the AI adoption, with the antiquated grid, with, look, 4 million more people have relocated to Florida since COVID. We went from 19 million to 23. And like you mentioned earlier, with the stuff going on up in New York, I could see another 500,000 to 1 million people coming over the next 6 to 12 months. So, we just continue to get better at what we did. One of the things I brought here, was a manifestation of mine, having the ability to create the generator process as a full turnkey process, because no generator can run without fuel. It's either natural gas or liquid propane or diesel. And so I got my license. First, I got my license as a master electrician because my dad said it was important to have a redundant plan just in case, right? Things do happen. And then I kind of got obsessed with wanting to get different licenses. And next thing you know, I turned around. I was a master qualifier for gas. I'm a CVC solar qualifier. I'm right there to have my general contractor's license. And, you just kept getting into different verticals. So with the generators, is it profitable? Yes, if it's ran the right way, right? You have to be very aggressive with buying materials. You have to have good relationships with vendors, which I feel we do have at Rack. And then you got to put the right people in the right seats to run that process, because I can't do all of that. I need to be the CEO of Rack. I need to be the guy that, like you said, I can, as I'd like to say to my wife, you have a husband that can do both. I can work really hard, but then I can come home and I can be a great dad and I can be a great husband. And, you know, that's what I try to do. I let my team do a lot of the processes. And if we have issues, we find them through checks and balances. You know, we're not perfect. We're all human. We really focus on two pillars, which is people and communication with customers. And it just kind of kept evolving, guys. I mean, honestly, Kevin, you know, if you would have told me 10 years ago I would own propane delivery trucks and be delivering, I would have said you were crazy. If you asked me that in 2019, when I bought this little die-cast truck and put rack stickers on it, I would have told you I'd have one. Well, now I have three, right? And these aren't inexpensive trucks. They're very expensive. They're very expensive to maintain. But we just continually take different verticals and we try to be the best at it. We want to have the best practices. I want to have the best people. I want to have the best tech, which is really important. Best trucks, best tools. We're partnered with Milwaukee Tools, which has been really incredible. And it's just building those relationships.
Can we talk about that for a second? So often business owners come in and they ignore the relationship side of their business. And you said that you're a power networker, and that's really what helped you get from, you know, 1 year to 10 years to 80 million from $1 million, right? And I think people often think it's social media posting or it's, you know, mass emailing through AI technology, but often it's through traditional networking, I believe.
It
is what
is.
you're saying. So kind of dive deeper into how you did that.
Well, it's a combination of multiple things. Number one, you know, Boca Raton is my home. My family lives here. I did marry my wife, who I met at Florida Atlantic. You know, we live right here in the community with two beautiful little boys. And, you know, I do a lot of networking. You know, I partake in the charities. You know, we talked about it earlier. You know, you only have one name, right? So when people know, you know, there's a running joke at my company that everybody knows Jesse. Well, the truth is that I know everybody that works for me, and then I know everybody. I know customers because we do what we say and we say what we're going to do. Nothing's changed on my end. You know, if a customer calls me and there's an issue, I'm a big boy. I'm okay to learn about that issue. I want to find out where in the SOP we made a mistake so that I can correct it, so that we can create a better customer experience. You know, I would say right now, you know, with the way, you know, the weird economic conditions, things are a little bit different. Relationships and networking are going to be really important for you. You know, are you going to leave a lasting impression on somebody, or are they going to look at you and say, I don't want to work with that guy? Yep. You know, and I've had some really great customers. And one of the things that we've done is just, again, we continue to expand. We continue to do things the right way. You know, 9 years ago, we started working for Tesla Motors. Now we're the #1 EPC, which is an engineering, procurement, construction firm in the Southeast U.S. We've built 80% of Tesla's supercharging network in Florida. Well, that earned me the opportunity to go and build the largest Tesla supercharging location on the East Coast, which is in North Carolina. I know, and it just continually evolves, you know, building those relationships, keeping good lines of communication, having dinners, taking people out to events, you know, and just at the end of the day, you know, if you're gonna talk the talk, you got to walk the walk.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is following through those two
100%.
words. So often in society today, people yap on and they're great pitchers, which we talked about earlier, but then when it really comes down to it, they don't show up for the job. And especially in the trades, especially in your world with AC, it's like I book an AC appointment, like they didn't show up, and then they think it's okay to show up 4 hours late when
Absolutely
I'm like
not.
canceled my morning and didn't go to work, and I'm furious right now. And I see that a lot in that world. So, you know, I really think it's about the full picture. It's networking and putting yourself in positions with the right individuals, putting yourself out there, but then also following through on the back end. And I did look up your company before this. Your score is very high on Google, almost perfect, right? No one gets a 5.0, but he's close to it with over 1,500 Google reviews. And those are hard to get today. Most people only leave a review when something bad happens. So,
yeah. So actually we have over 3,500 Google reviews, but we have 5 Google locations.
Ah,
so
that's
a little bit unique because I found, you know, my background. One of the best things that ever happened to me in the University of Buffalo was I thought I was going to graduate in 2009.
Yeah.
I left Buffalo. I packed all my stuff up. I was ready to come back for graduation. And my advisor said, we made a mistake. You've got to take 9 more credits. Ooh. I was like, oh, wow, that's, you know, this is tough. I wanted to go play in the NFL. Well, the NFL didn't work out, went back to graduate because obviously at those times they need the scores to get more scholarships. And I took 9 marketing classes. Let me take that back. 3 marketing classes, for 9 credits.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
changed the whole way I looked at different things. When I had 1 truck, they thought we had 10. When I had 10, they thought we have 100. Now that we have over 120, they think we have thousands, right?
Yeah.
So branding is really important. But that's just kind of
Awesome.
piggyback off what
Well,
you were
we're
saying.
going to jump into our next segment of the show. We have time for a couple of students to ask some questions. This is powered by the Owl app, where you get to network and talk to experts live in real time. So anyone in the audience who wants to ask a question, come on up.
Hi, Jesse. I'm Ryan, and my question was kind of like you started out really niche, is what you were saying, and you kind of expanded into a lot of different verticals. So the first question I had for you is, have you considered expanding into solar at all?
So actually, yes, I started a solar business 3 years ago. We've been doing solar ever since. I do believe in sustainable, clean energy. I do believe in creating a net zero ecosystem. I think a lot of commercial companies are not taking advantage of the new bill, the big beautiful bill, which is 100% of a tax write-off. I'm trying to work right now with multiple locations, because taking advantage of the natural energy that is created by the sun here in the state of Florida would be super beneficial. But I see a lot of value in solar, see a lot of value in batteries. As I'd like to say, energy is different varieties. Not every house can have a generator. Not every house can have solar. You may be shaded from trees, but you can have batteries. Or you can add so many different dynamic things from that industry to your home.
Definitely, yeah. And another question that I had for you is, because you're pretty well established in the trade industry, and more often nowadays, there are some people that are apprehensive to go to get a higher education degree, right? Specifically college, because they consider, I can go to trade school, right? And specifically with electricians, for example, would you say that you hire more electricians like with an electrical engineering degree, or independent of that? And like, what do you think your success could be from?
So we're really unique, right? So when it comes to apprentice electricians, I prefer to hire people with a good attitude. Do they check the boxes? Can they show up on time? Do they clean cut? Are they hard workers, right? I mean, you could be working at McDonald's, but are you just absolutely knocking it out of the park, or are you being lazy? On the technical side, a lot of people talk like they know electric. We will give a top tier electrician a test, and it's amazing how many guys don't know code, don't know many little things, and because they're just not masters of their craft. So I would say it varies by the position. We're seeing a lot of kids get involved with the trades now. We're seeing a lot of the adoption of AI is going to create a big gap between office workers and positionless jobs with AI, right? I mean, you're going to have the computer take over call centers. You're going to have computers taking over dispatching. So you're going to see a big surplus of people that want to get involved with the trades. I would say this: the cool thing is, once you work with your hands and you learn to work with your hands, you can work anywhere in the world. And so it's an attitude thing, and then it's also a technical side where, are you grasping? Are you making the same mistake twice? Are you learning? Are you pushing? Are you being a true apprentice and listening to, a journeyman electrician?
Yeah, thank you. And then one last question. So I know you said you've been involved in a lot of M&A, specifically in kind of the trade industry.
Yeah.
So if you guys could speak to this for a couple moments, do you think, what's the word? Do you think like trades are kind of the final frontier of private equity?
I don't think private equity will ever slow down, man. Those guys have a different motor,
Sharks.
and they are true sharks. I mean, they are really, they are swimming around the trades. If I told you my phone rang once a day, I'd be lying. It rings 4 or 5 times a day. As I'd like to say, I'm the private equity killer. I'm independent. I've raised all my own. I've made all my own money. I've done it on my own. In every different vertical that we have, we are going against billion-dollar companies, and we're dominating them. So, to me, I understand the trades, which makes my story so unique. I understand it because when I first started, I dug holes for $12 an hour. I've been through every single process of it. So, for me, I think with mergers and acquisitions, number one, it's my favorite part of the business because it's a real challenge. It actually has like reignited a different passion for me within there. I like to help what they call the silver tsunami, which is, the 65 plus year olds. I like to help transition them away.
Oh yeah, we've talked about that on the show as
Yeah.
it relates to an entrepreneurship through acquisition program we're building out here for
Yeah.
other people who may want to buy their own.
Yeah. So I kind of help transition all of it. I don't, again, I love the devils in the details. I like when people say it can't be done. I don't think private equity is going to go anywhere. I think they're going to be around for a long time. I think a lot of things are going to go less government, more private, because private's a lot more efficient. But when it comes to mergers and acquisitions, I think you're going to continually see them everywhere because that's where the money is,
Thank you.
You're welcome, man. Thank you.
Okay, unfortunately, this class has to get out of the studio in the next couple of minutes because their class is coming to an end. So, Jesse, final thoughts. If you're going to leave one piece of advice to these students sitting here, what would it be?
Follow your passion. I mean, education is super important. Take it serious, but there's other opportunities that are out there. I would say to you that, while you're getting your education, if there's something else that you want to pursue, get after it. Whether it's, for me, every day I go to the gym, that's my anchor. Every day I ground myself. And then I know that I'm rolling my sleeves up. I'm going to hard work. I'm making a difference. One of the things I tell my people all the time, it's not about money for me anymore. It's more about my time and my energy. I value that more than anything. So when I spend time with people, it really means something. Because I can exit left tomorrow, like you said, with a private equity deal, but I don't want to do that. I've seen a lot of really rich people that are not very happy, but passionate people are always so much happier. Like when you're passionate about what you're doing and you're making a difference in other people's lives, it's so much greater than just money in the bank. So that's what I would leave you with, follow your passion and,
Awesome. Jesse, thanks for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank. Everybody listening, check out his LinkedIn account. He posts all the time. I've been following him for years. And of course, reach out on LinkedIn if you want to chat with him, or the Owl app. He has an account as well. We could talk one-on-one for the price that he sets. Take care, everybody. We will be back next Wednesday at 1 o'clock for our grand finale. Take care.